Hello and welcome to the Black Marriage and Family Therapy Podcast, where we are breaking generational curses in the Black community. Today's guest is Dr. Tameika Lawrence. Hi, Dr. Lawrence.
Hi, everyone.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here on your podcast relative to speaking about many issues. So I'm very excited to be on your show today. Thank you for having me.
Great. Well, we are so honored to have you. If you don't mind, may I tell our awesome guest about the amazing work that you do?
Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Dr. Lawrence will be able to help her clients get back on track when they are feeling stressed, depressed, confused, anxious, lonely, or in need of a little direction. Dr. Lawrence is a professional psychologist, scholar, practitioner in the field of counseling psychology with training in personality, cognitive assessment, communication, interpersonal relationships, individual, couples counseling, and psych evaluations in various settings. She has provided individual and group counseling for over 15 years to a client population that is diverse in terms of race, ethnicity, sexual and gender orientation, religion, and socioeconomic status. Her experiences have strongly amplified her deep interest in emotional life, and she prides herself in providing a fostering environment that elicits personal growth. She walks with an agenda of establishing personal power as she knows that mindset influences behavior. Changes in behavior start with thought, whereas situational factors can change if one creates a new thought. One of her strongest skills is assessing a person's needs, identifying barriers when finding a way to take them to the next level. She embraces great energy, a solid knowledge of the psychology field, and unflagging professionalism. I love that. She has successfully exceeded expectations in accomplishing lifetime goals. In her comfort model is a 6-step program that teaches individuals how to live their passion by breaking free from comfort while embracing discomfort. By the way, that title is Outgrow Comfort Model. In addition to Outgrow Comfort Model, Dr. Lawrence is the founder of BridgingTherapist.com, which is a new social network where therapists and coaches are able to connect directly for educational needs. Some TV professional appearances include For My Man on TV One. Awesome, I didn't know that. Dr. Lawrence holds a doctoral degree in counseling psychology and is a member of the Hudson Valley Psychological Association and the American Psychological Association. She remains a leading expert in understanding the correlation of achieving tendencies of father's presence among African American men during their childhood. Her broad knowledge and life experience will assist her clients in personal development and overall fulfillment. Yay, that is exciting, Dr. Lawrence.
Thank you.
You are busy.
You're
very busy. How do you? Oh my goodness. How do you have time to do all this
It's
work?
funny you say oh my goodness. I'm busy, but I feel like I adjust well. I'm very, very keen from not even with career, but in general, I'm considered an expert with transitions. I know how to transition and adjust to anything that I'm in, pretty much. So definitely when you adjust, and it comes with battles, but it's just really keeping your perspective on what it looks like when you're at the end of the tunnel. So that's how I multitask many of those things and keep myself going. So yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm glad you mentioned that because, that's not easy to do. Like a lot of times we get into situations where we're used to something, like whether it's what we've seen done with our parents or what just kind of comes natural to us, what we see on TV, what we see with our friends. But you use the word transition. Sometimes we do need a transition. How would a person know when it's a good time to transition, and or how to go about transitioning if they haven't, especially when they haven't really seen what's on the other side of the transition.
Right. And actually, that's the stump when it comes to the book that I have, Outgrow Your Comfort. How do you know to transition? First and foremost, when we're thinking about outgrowing your comfort and transitioning in life with anything you need to do, you need to want it. It sounds, and I'm going to keep it frank, you really need to want it. And the question would be, what does want mean? Wanting is really needing to be in the light of whatever you want. If you have a lack of interest, or if it's just a thought and you can't visualize yourself being there, the want won't be there. It just won't exist. So one is very important when you're thinking about if I need to transition. When I say want, meaning things like get out of your day-to-day habits of, let me get up in the morning, work, come home, do homework, live life with intention. Intention allows you to see things where you can start wanting things. So many of us, because of the hustle bustle of what comes with being an adult, you have to work, you have to pay bills, you have roles, your mom, your wife, you're a father, you're a husband, whatever role you're playing in life sometimes get in our way of trying to live a fulfilled life. And we have to know we only still have one life, and that life should be balanced with not just the things we're doing for the ways to keep us there, eating, sleeping, working, but we also need to feel like, wow, I feel fulfilled. I was speaking to you earlier about having a feeling of feeling like exhilarated and things like that. It's like chase those feelings. Find out what those feelings mean for you. And that will help establish what this want of transition is. And then from there it unfolds. So, yeah.
Good. I love that. I guess what I think must be confusing to a lot of people, and it has been for me, is we're used to being in survival mode. So a lot of us think that's normal. So when I hear you say, we need to live a life of fulfillment, but if you've never seen a life of fulfillment, right? Because a lot of us, think about it when I can't speak for your childhood, but for me, you had to put food on the table. You might have had external factors, a deeper level of racism and stuff that we hadn't worked through as a society. We didn't have time to talk about feelings and emotional fluency and things like that. So how does a person get to a place now where they can, you said want it though. So I guess everybody wants to be happy, but a lot of people aren't. So what's going on with that?
Well, we have to look at this. Yes, we don't have the choice of what family we're part of, regardless of what kind of, what family we're part of, our financial situation, maybe some trauma we could have experienced, some dysfunction in family. We do not have that choice. Right. However, I will give thought into Adlerian therapy, and it's really great for trauma, where we have to start empowering ourselves with the struggle that we probably had to experience during our childhood. Is seeing that, okay, I am in this now, but how can I make this better? What can I do differently? Just to even aim and seek a feeling of feeling better, feeling happier. It could be as small as, okay, I know I can't afford to get a cake, but if I can't get a cake, what can I do with what I have to give myself that happiness? So sometimes we have a way where we, like you stated, may have was raised in a different way. And it's like, well, how do I see outside that light? I strongly believe in every kid growing up had a thought process of, what do you want to be when you grow up? There is things out there, but it's what we focus our attention on that kind of help fuel us for what we can do with it. So if I go to a little one and I say, what do you want to be when you grow up? If they want to be a lawyer, if they want to be a teacher, if they want to own the next big tech company, what are we doing besides, we can focus in on not having much, but what am I teaching that kid so they can keep that vision, so they can actually see it's a possibility? I could be doing a lot of things. I could be doing what we probably tend to do sometimes, and I think we all grew up that way. It's like, it's not possible. It's, no, you can't do that. Not on this end. They will not accept us. Who's they? Where are we now? So when you look at things like that, it starts from the beginning of trying to teach one to know that it's possible, number one. Number two, as the person who still feel it's not possible, try to put more energy into the possibility of something, whatever it is. And then stay in that experience of the possibility of something you put into. A lot of things that we say that we, I don't know how to see the fulfillment or the truth of it. But for you to have the thought of knowing, I don't know how to see the truth and the fulfillment of it, tells me you do have a want of something. But you probably just need the guidance to kind of start reframing the thought process. The thought process is, go ahead.
The fact that you're thinking about it lets you know that, okay, then you want this. Okay.
Correct. So it's like paying more attention to the fact that the vision is there. Sit down, watch a TV all day. Let's just say this kid never gets out. Parent works. The child is watching the television all day. I'm pretty sure they see different things. They're taking things in. However, when watching that television, what am I going to focus on that TV? Am I going to focus on what we don't have? Am I going to focus on the gratitude of what we have? Am I going to focus on the gratitude of what we have and trying to get more the best way we can, which goes back to outgrow and comfort. Growing up sometimes, especially when you're talking about low income, about Black families, if you're speaking about Latino families, it really doesn't matter. We're all comfortable with the way we were raised. That's just pretty much it. We're comfortable with the way we are raised. And in order for change to happen, you have to start viewing things by what you are experiencing. Real life experience, factual experience of what you're taking in. A lot of our views, sometimes it can become distorted based on a lot of our history and sometimes based on past history. I'm going to go back to Adler and trauma. Go through something, experience something, but it's still up to us to make the choice what we want to do with that experience. Sometimes, yes, we have a mask of depression, we have other things, but when it gets to the point of like exploring those emotions and really getting involved with what this trauma or what this dysfunction have resulted into, now we can have a conversation, because we're going to have a conversation to help you close out whatever it is with it. But now there's an approach of here and now. What do I want now? How am I going to move forward from this now? Because I still have life in front of me. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's little things. But like I stated earlier and what you spoke about, is noticing that the person does have some type of vision. I don't know anyone who doesn't have a vision of something they wish they could be. But now it's just trying to get them to really think about being and really taking actions to really being what they think they can't be. So that's like my premise, my way of thinking, pretty much.
I love that. I love that. And, I'm burning to just ask you to fill in this gap, because, the scripture that does come to mind is a man without a dream or vision shall perish. God gives us these dreams, these visions, and these thoughts. And it's like, if you don't have them, you're not existing, right? So, but we obviously aren't all living in there. That's why you had to write the book, to show people how to do it. So how Dr. Lawrence, the word that's coming to mind is discomfort. Your title is Outgrow Your Comfort. Is that the correct way to pronounce it? Outgrow your comfort. So why is it uncomfortable? And I guess this would be a good time to transition in your book, because without giving too much, we're going to buy it. We're going to support you. We know it's great stuff, but just get an idea of how do we go about outgrowing our comfort?
Right. So outgrowing your comfort is first identifying the fact that you're comfortable in life and everything may be going well or may not be, but it's comfortable enough for you to continue just living life, which is what the normal way of being, Outgrowing your comfort doesn't happen all the time because we aim to be stable. We aim to have stability. So the comfort, it does exist, but the fulfillment that you're seeking for is once in a lifetime that you choose to have here and there. But it's just needed to know, and let's start here. Outgrow your comfort is in 6 steps. It came about because I myself had to outgrow my comfort in many ways to get where I am today, pretty much, and do it in different ways. But I didn't know that until I started to outgrow it, because when push come to shove, if you want something, you want it. And when you want it, you're going to do what you need to do. And whatever it is. But when you're comfortable, you can't get past the fact of a want really becoming a need. So I take you through the steps to kind of help you become uncomfortable, have a little discomfort, where you can still get to whatever it is that you have, which I call your end. So these 6 steps, they start with, the first step is know your end. As you heard me say early on, you have to have a vision, a want, or something of interest. You might say, well, I don't have that, I live here, or this and this and that and that. There's no reason for not being able to look at a computer, pick up a book. It's here, it's available. So it would be hard to believe you don't have it. Now, the focus on it, being mindful about it, is something else. So before you start this, you need to know what you're aiming to do. Because if you don't know what you're aiming to do, which goes back to the thought process, you will fail at the situation. You would be stuck. So the first step is just basically identifying the fact of what is it that you want to outgrow? What is it that you would like to do? And I can make it an example. We can focus on pretty much, you could just throw one at me if you want. If you want to give me an example.
If people want to start a business, like when you go to I want to start a business, and expect them to give you a loan. You have to show your plan. Where's your business? How you gonna spend this money? Right. So yes, I'm glad you said that. So step 1, know your end. You want to start a business. So before you even finish with going to the next step, you need to know what type of business. Let's just say you want to start a accounting business. And before you start the accounting business, so now we have the fact, I want to start an accounting business. So you have to ask yourself, well, what do you want with this accounting business? Do you want to own one? Do you want to work the books? Like, what do you want to do? All of that is connected to your end. You have to really be detailed about exactly what you want to do. But let's go with, I want to start an accounting business. Start there. Number 1, know your end. Step 2, know your comfort. This is the biggest of it all. Knowing your comfort has to do with the fact of, what am I doing in my life now that's basically preventing me, but I'm willing to kind of step away, decrease, or increase to give some room to start this accounting business. So the know your comfort step allows a person to really look at their day-to-day life and see what are they doing that they can't change to keep their comfort.
What are they willing to do to start the process of starting this accounting business? And what is it that they will not do at all because they would be too uncomfortable? So it allows you a three table format.
That's two. It has three parts to it.
Yes, step two have three parts.
Can you say it again? Know your comfort.
Yes, know what you're tolerable with doing. And then the last step is uncomfortable at all with doing. So if you wanted to start an accounting business and you work at a construction business and you're making good money and you're paying your bills, everything's fine. So you're comfortable with, example could be, I need to make sure my bills remain paid. So that's your comfort.
Okay.
So now number two would probably say, well, I'm tolerable of making sure my bills are paid because that's what I'm comfortable with, but I'm tolerable with maybe working less and living on a budget. That would be the example of feeling tolerable. And then the last one is uncomfortable. I am uncomfortable with my bills not being paid. So whatever's helping me pay my bills, it just won't be an option for me.
Got it. Okay.
You can do that and create a chart for yourself, because that chart you will continue to look back at to see where you are, what are you doing, and what you will do and what you won't do as far as your comfort. So that's combating your discomfort, but finding some middle ground. So that's know your comfort. Step number two. Step number three, once you have created your chart of your comfort, step number three is knowing your commitment level. We'll go back to the beginning when you were like, how do you want this to transition? In my book, commitment level is very important. This book is really directed to a person who wants that personal control of their life. It's up to you to get what you want, what you desire, and it's also up to you to do the work. So the commitment level, I have it set up at 0% all the way to 100%, 25, 50, 75, 100%. What it does, it allows the person to evaluate the fact of, the example we gave about wanting an accounting business. So it allows them to evaluate how committed are they, will they be to this mission. So if it's at 0%, that means I want an accounting business today and maybe next week I want a hair business. It just allows you to think about, is this just a thought or is there something more with it? And then you could be have a percentage of 50% where this person actually could visualize not only the goal that they have in mind, but they also could visualize some of the steps that they need to take. And they also could visualize the fact that they probably started to take some of those steps. So that would be a 50% commitment level. And then the 100% commitment level is like, you really want to create the plan, get your business plan, get everything in order, and really start the process of seeking to start that business. But once you have your commitment level, it falls into the bracket of how would I use that commitment level with my life that I already have and be able to work the model. So I created a formula where most of us in life, every person wastes time. Any given day, we waste time, whether you're on the phone, whether before it used to be called the cooler talk, if you're at a job, it can be now we're fishing on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You'll be surprised your screen time is very high and you're like, wow, I was on TikTok for 4 hours. I can't believe this. Those are time wasters. They give no value to us. It's not teaching us anything, and therefore it's called a time waster. So what I do, I have the individual during the step 3 of knowing your commitment, they will need to actually take how much time they waste in a day once they calculate their full day and what does it consist of. And so they waste, let's just say 10 hours a day. They realize like, wow, 10 hours a day, I'm really wasting a lot of time. I would take their commitment level that they pick for themselves, because they're telling us, I want to be 50% committed to reaching this goal. They would take that 50% and they would take the 10%. And it's just really an easy division to divide it up. And now, instead of 10 hours, you now would waste 5 hours of your time, and the other 5 hours should be used to reach your end. So now I gave you the time to use to reach your end. So you don't even have to do any more thinking there. So this is like a real blueprint for you. So now that we spoke about 3 steps so far. Knowing your end, step 1. Step 2, know your comfort. I allow you to write down what you're uncomfortable with, what you're comfortable with, which allows you to speak about the actual plan of action somewhat. And step 3, know your commitment. Now I allow you to actually identify how much time are you going to put towards what you're willing to do, what you want to do, what you're trying to reach. So that's know your commitment level. Number 4, this one I think you would like, know your support. This is a very important step. One thing that we spoke about off camera, on camera, is support system. Support system is huge. However, some of us do not have choices on who's supporting us, as if you're like a little one. Sometimes the TV is our support. Sometimes the book we read is our support. Sometimes the support that we want to have, they're not the best support for us, but they're there. Everybody's support around us. But with the know your support step for outgrow your comfort, it's now time for you to identify your support and speak of it in a way that will identify who they are, but also see how they can work for you. So know your support. This step for me is a funny step. I call it your fans. Everybody want a fan, like someone who's really a fan, like, you're a fan of music, arts, things like that. So we have 3 support groups with the know your support step. You have the fan of progress, the fan of the plan, and the fan of performance. So for individuals who are unable to choose their support, what I will allow you to do in this step is still be able to identify where people fit in, to know how to use them. So fan of progress are usually the individuals that you speak with, you speak about an idea, you probably speak about that one, and it goes over their head, and that's it. There's no conversation. It's just, oh, good for you, and that's it. That same fan of progress will show up when you are recognized for something good, whether you bought a car, whether you went on a vacation. They're there to cheer you on. Look at you go. But they weren't there during the journey. Those are your fan of progress. Just know them. That's it. Fan of the plan, those are the individuals where you would actually say to them, I want to open an accounting business. And they're like, wow, that sounds great. You should do that. Oh, I can't help you with it, but I do look forward to hearing about it. And then they may call you back in another month and say, hey, I know you said you was going to do the accounting. How's that going? That's fan of the plan. They can't help plan, but they're able to kind of give you an encouraging words. The next group is fan of the performance. Fan of the performance, that is a group of people. Not only are they able to speak with you about what it is that you're working on, they're able to challenge you. Sometimes they're able to even give you homework, and they hold you to deadlines. Once you have these 3 categories, I'm not asking you to remove people from your life. I'm asking you to find out where they fit in. So when you grew up a certain way, and like, let's just say buying a house at 21 is something that's unheard of, your goal is to buy a house. You probably may not speak to the parent that's around you that only kind of sees living in a tenement building as being just okay. You will speak to someone else. You will actually place that parent in the fan of progress because they can't see the way that you are viewing it. So it's not like they're not supportive.
No, this is great. It sounds all great. And I'm sure you're going to touch on this, but I just want to make sure, just in case you're not, I want you to address it now. I think those are 3 great plan people. But you said you don't want us to get rid of the other people. There's people that don't fit into any of that. They call haters. So where exactly? I mean, you got some people who will say, "You dummy, you will never be an accountant," and will do things and put barriers in your way to keep you from opening that accounting business. Will laugh at you when you fail. Will talk about you when they think you're not going to do it. Or can you believe Dr. Lawrence thinks she's going to be a psychologist? Like who she thinks she is? They'll do that. Where they go?
Well, actually, you're saying you should remove them. I would actually still put them in a fan of progress. You want to know why? Because they're still speaking of you. And they're only there when they see you progress. And they're also there when they see you when you're not progressing. But I would put them there because they still exist. People have these haters that can't cut them off completely. So it's just knowing where, and they come out when they hear about it, but they're not coming out to say good job. They're coming out to, home. It's only a one family with one bathroom. Like it's a whole house. But but with that being said, I would place them in the fan of progress. Every person is still considered because they're in our lives. So I wouldn't want the person to exclude them. I just want you to know the fan of progress group. It's not the group that's going to help you get what you need, but that's the group that you would call. And it's called social comparison. That's the group that you would make sure you hit their page with what you got going on if you want to play the game. But if you don't want to play the game, you kind of want them to speak about you because they'll start speaking about you more. That will fuel you, your fans of progress, because they are waiting for the next big thing for you to show, to talk positively or negatively. So it gives you some fuel. So you should kind of just keep them there. There's no need to remove it because they've been there.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So when you have these three, go ahead.
I was just saying, you saying my cancel culture mentality, just not for this assignment.
Yeah, because you know what? It's kind of like you have to stand tall too. Individuals, when you stand taller and you work harder and you just showing your actions, all of that becomes just a conversation that's not even worth your time. So you're giving it time by looping them in where they are, because you have to acknowledge they exist. Because I don't want you not to like give it any time and then they exist and you don't have it in your plan and you're like, oh my God, I still have these haters around me. No, you already placed them where they belong. And you'll only look at them to cut the cake. They'll be there to eat your cake. They're not going to bring a gift.
These too. And try to take some home.
You're right. You're right. That's exactly, you will. And then you will not hear from them after for a while until something else is happening.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, like so knowing your support is very important. Yeah. And I guess the key I would say with that step in general, it goes back to upbringing. We all can tell a story of upbringing, whether it's positive or negative, or one person could be worse than the other. And we all have our stories that bring us to where we are in our present day. But it's just how do you want to define the story? That's the way I view it. You have the power to define your story. Your story, at times, you didn't have the power of, but you have the power to take some of those negative feelings that we have to try to serve someone else to make sure they may not suffer the way you did, or make sure someone has the tools to get through something because you got through it, as well. I grew up with my mom, my father, but I had substance abuse in my family. I grew up in a low-income neighborhood in the Bronx of New York. But when it came to school and work, there was something driven as far as like, your problems are your problems, but always see things in an independent light from the other. Because when you're trying to move forward and do whatever you're trying to do, For the most part, it's your experience that's going to get you to the next step. Whatever experience. And some of our experiences, the reason why sometimes we are still limited by our experiences because we don't experience. I know that sounds crazy, but it's like we focus on what we think our experience is versus what is our true experience to see how that can fuel us to take on more experiences. So when you're dealing with this 6-step outgrow your comfort model, I'm also teaching you to experience, plan, experience, see what's really there, and kind of to get you and guide you through it. Going to the next step, know your steps. So after you know your support, you know who's who, you put, even though she's mom, but mom doesn't understand, in my case, I was fortunate enough to get a home at 21 years old. Mom did not understand that plight. Mom looked at me like, girl, no, we don't have it. You know, or even going to school. I mean, sometimes we're hit with the student loans that come our way. You can't do that. That's too much schooling. That's too much money. Well, if I look at it this way, my plan is to become a doctor that will make money. Then the student loan would just be what it is, the bill that I'm already paying. However, depending on who's supporting me and who I'm around and their view on life, you can be something. So you have to kind of see and believe in yourself and what it is that you want to do to realize that you're going to make it happen. And that's part of what you would need to do in this journey. So knowing your steps is going back to just actually creating your plan of action. Like, what do I need to do to become this, to have this accounting business? Maybe you need to become an accountant. Maybe you need to take tests. Maybe you need to learn about a business plan. You have to do some research, obviously. You want to create your steps. But the biggest thing I want you to take away with knowing your steps, I love the old pen and pencil, paper, weekly plan. You want to develop a weekly plan, really show a schedule of what is it you need to do, number one, when you're trying to figure out your steps. You also want to know that there are options. So walk into doing things with the fact of knowing I need to be a learner, not a person who knows. Because if I'm a learner, it allows me to get over some humps. Example could be, I want to take this test, but I can't afford it. Do we stop there? Many have. They can't afford it. They stop. However, if I walked into this as being a learner, I would realize that, wow, this program offers to pay. There's a grant. There's this other program here. Or if you go to school for 6 months, they'll pay for the test, because I walk into the process with an open mind as a learner. And that goes back to what I was telling you earlier, speaking about walking into the room and just thinking it just can't happen to me. It's having more of an open mind of the experience in front of you when it comes to you creating your steps. So those are like the Jews, I would say, with that.
Piggyback off of that, because my mom used to tell me, if you're the smartest, if you're the brightest light in the room, it's time to go to another room. And
perfect.
Yes, hearing you say that, I think we like to be the smartest one, the brightest one. So if we need to get this exam, well, if we can't afford it, we're not even surrounded by the people and the resources that can educate you on how to do it, because we're the smartest one and we don't know. So we, just accept that.
Right. But you know what? And I'm glad your mom said that. But the day that person realized what I need, I have to try to get there and become a learner, life opens up.
It does. Tremendously. Yeah.
In many ways, because our perception, and it's sad because our perception is developed from some of our upbringing, whether it's negative or positive. Our upbringing has an impact on how we view things, and how we walk into any room for what it is that we're aiming to do. So our perception is heavily weighted on our experience. So it's like, put perception to the side for a second and just experience the walk in the room. And then take from there what you get in that room and try to aim for that end, which is the goal, knowing your end, whatever it is you need to do. My aim is to do this. So, okay, maybe I can't afford to take the test. And then I realize, wait, I can still open the business. I don't have to be the accountant. I can actually just own the business. But that will only come when we take a second and really just sit back and become a learner and just and research and take it in and just focus on ways of the fact that I still want it. So if you just keep putting in your internet, even I want to own my accountant business, you're going to start reading and seeing stuff and find new interests connected to it and come up with different ideas. So that's like a way of brainstorming, which results in your plan of action. And the last step in itself is know your reflection. I'm big on experience, like we just discussed a second ago. When you're outgrowing your comfort, reflecting on something from an emotional standpoint, from an objective standpoint, and from an educational standpoint will not only allow you to recognize your experience, that you are outgrowing your comfort and working towards your end, but it would also allow you to continue taking the next steps and going to actually reach your end. Now, sometimes we get caught up where this just doesn't, this is sixth step, we go through and it's done. No, you might get caught here and there. And if you do, you go back to your commitment. You go back to where you are. You take on what's really happening around you. If I'm dealing with an ill parent, or if I'm dealing with, I happen to have my child's, I have to adopt my sister, my brother, whatever it is, you have to consider that and consider that emotions that's tied up in why maybe you can't do something now. But then it goes back to being a learner and finding other ways that you can do it. I was fortunate enough to, I wouldn't say fortunate, because I worked very hard for everything that I did. And like I said, student loans out the kazoo. However, I'm able to pay it, and that's what kept me going. But I did work for the federal government for 17 years. In a stint of working for the federal government, I did become a doctor. People was like, well, how did that happen? Psychologist at that? When I first went into this, it was like, I always wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a psychologist, but now I'm working at this federal job, and it's going to be very hard to leave my life that I already stabilized for myself to be able to become a doctor and continue to finish school. So the measurements, you have online education, but it was still psychology. How is that possible? No, what was possible was myself was a young lady who basically gave up on friendship and social life and vacations at a job 2-3 months at a time. I had to travel to the school, learn how to do assessments, learn how to do all of that. So my vacations at work was not vacations. They were all connected to school. And then it was like, oh, what about an internship? Now you have to do your postdoc. You have to counsel. And I was, by grace of God, you find a hospital that's allowing you to work on the weekends and still be able to come maybe part day during the week while I keep my job that I have in the government. And so I'm a worker. I work hard and I keep going and I see the options. And that was like my true development of this whole outgrow your comfort. It's what you put in front of you, is what you give attention to, and it's your experience that kind of keeps you flowing to know that you could continue. So that was my story, even with my little girl. I had my little girl and I find myself taking the licensing test. I think the day before I'm supposed to deliver, because I wanted to do it before I had the baby, and that didn't work out well because what was I thinking? But this is what you do. So it's like outgrow your comfort, get out your own way, and really kind of put more attention to what you want, and little by little use my blueprint to break down that plan so it won't feel so daunting, and just get through. So that's it.
I love that. I love that. That was 6 amazing steps that y'all, I hope y'all were taking notes. If not, put this on record, or even better, buy the book. Because that was just priceless information, and it was so good, and it's coming from someone who's done it. So you're not, you're a doctor, you've got your receipts, but you've got the experience too, and I love that.
Right. Thank you. Yes.
Is there any myth of any capacity about change or outgrowing your comfort that you like to debunk for the Black community?
Well, the myth that I have with outgrowing your comfort is I don't believe in failure. I feel like you stop. So, yes. And it's not necessarily about career goals. It could be family. You could be in a bad relationship and you want this relationship to be better. But once one person stopped contributing to the love of the relationship, you stopped. It's all a stop. And it's like, what could I did better? What could I do to continue to try to reach something? And sometimes we just stop. We stop ourselves in our tracks and we don't think about it. We don't look back at it, and it becomes just a thought. So I'm really big with motivation as far as like teaching people what it is that they haven't stopped, and trying to get them to use that same power when it comes to them outgrowing their comfort.
Love that. What do you think is the hardest part about doing this? I mean, you described 6 steps and they sound genius, but why is it difficult to do it?
The difficulty is doing it is like really just having that will of like, who am I? What am I? Why am I valued? Why am I important? Why should I do this? A lot of people spend time to speak about these wants or whatever it is that they want as not being valuable, and his confidence is big. It's just knowing like, I want to be able to go on vacations with my mate more often. Why can't we do this? And sometimes we get caught up in that perceptional bias of how to view things. We're all developed and created with a schema of like things in life and how you view certain things. When you see a fireman, and you would automatically associate him with having a red jacket. It works the same with any person, any background. We have our stereotypes, but some of those stereotypes, they shape our experience for why we stop ourselves. And it's like experience. I can't say this enough. It's like being a little bit more mindful in our day-to-day actions would allow us room for new knowledge to come our way.
Like that.
I
just want I think you mentioned this before I hit the record button, but exercise came up. What are some resources that people can tap into that will help them with the mindset to outgrow your comfort?
Well, the resources goes with the support. The support not only being people, books, videos, like really tap into, like if you want to be an accountant and I take a look at your Instagram page and I see nothing that have to do with business, math, accounting, this, you have to get it in front of you. So resources with me, like find something connected to something you're interested in and make sure you do it throughout the week. It could be something really small just to build your interest. Resources also, exercise, it helps. Do something different. You might have to take yourself back to when you were a child and think about those feelings, like top feelings of happiness, joyous, excitement, and connect what was it that made you, that provided those feelings. Because now I want to chase those feelings. Whatever those feelings are, your homework would be to sit there and take that feeling, remember what did it for you, and duplicate that moment. And continue to do that with all those happy feelings. Because that's going to get you in a positive mindset to start viewing things and seeing things differently. So that would be my advice. And then trying just different things. Sometimes in counseling, you might give an interest inventory of all kinds of things and just check off what you're willing to do and what you won't do, like bike riding, this, that, whatever it is. So it's just walking the plight of like recognizing I need happiness and I'm searching for it. Sometimes we dwindle in sadness and we see what's there. But now I want you to put more energy into, I need to find happiness today. What's going to give me happiness? You know what? Talking to my mom when we watch this show, that gives me happiness. So we're trying to get you to stroke yourself in feelings of positivity. And then once you determine that, the brain starts moving a little more. That's my thoughts. That's more my opinion, but that's what, it works.
Love that, love that, love that. I'd like to move to a part in the show that's called What's Good. And basically, I just give a hypothetical situation. And I'd like to tap into your brain, Dr. Lawrence, and get your insight on what this person should do. Is that okay?
Great.
All right, meet Janelle. Janelle is a 35-year-old African-American woman. She is the youngest of 3 siblings, each very successful in their own rights. She has goals and ambitions and dreams about doing something more in the creative arts, but everybody in her family is a doctor, and she feels that obligated to do that, and she has these talents that she's not really tapping into for fear that she will mess up the family narrative, and more or less she's afraid. How would you recommend she start to tap into what her creative ambitions in a different area and still keep a sense of her identity and her family ties?
Well, actually, it would be her that would help me with trying to figure out what's the best decision for her, which is how does she view her family views? How important are they when it comes to her decision? Because at the end result, she's my client, and I may feel like, wow, that's what you really want to do. You should just do it. But I need to find out first, how does she value what she really wants to do in comparison to her family? Once we determine how she views her, her family versus her decision making versus how they view things, then maybe we can build from there. I cannot too much impose the fact that she should do something, but we will focus on the beauty of her strengths and things that she does have. But I will actually work with her more to try to understand identity of self in comparison to her identity with her family, to see which one is taking precedence in her life now. And depending on how we unfold that, we will be able to determine what we would do in the next steps.
I love that. Well, Dr. Lawrence, we're going to be wrapping up here. I have enjoyed listening to what you have to share. I know our listeners will. Where can specifically, I want to know about your practice, if they wanted to work with you or someone on your team, and more about your book, how they could get resources for that.
All right, so just a little bit of information of what's happening with me now and how you can find me. I'm more known by Dr. T. Lawrence. My website is drlawrence, LAWRENC.com. My practice in itself is service individuals, couples. I also provide group therapy. I would also say, like we mentioned, I have my book, Outgrow Your Comfort, could be found on Barnes & Nobles, Amazon, and it's written by myself. And last but not least, I also am the founder of a new social network site for professionals like ourselves and coaches, where it's called bridgingtherapists.com. I felt like we needed a network that allows therapists, more so in the private practice sector, to be able to connect with each other directly based on like schedule appointments in the need of help, whether you need help for a client and you're not too experienced in a certain type of feel, like maybe trauma, or you wanted to connect with a therapist relative to some continuing educational classes that you're presenting. So bridgingtherapists.com, it just is a networking site for professional therapists and coaches. I facilitate workshops, also different kinds, and I just aim to work from a motivational standpoint and teach people how to just build on their strengths. And that's just my motto. And you could, like I said, find me at drtlawrence.com. Thank you.
Love that, love that, love that. Well, if that's all, I have any final thoughts or notes that you want to share that are, like, if there's just one thing that you wanted our Black community to hold on to, you could have either already said it or it could be something new. What would that be?
I think I probably already said it, but just holding on to the fact of experience, living your experience and let your experience dictate your life. Living your experience, let your experience dictate your life and lead you for your future.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. You're a wise woman. Thank you so much for blessing our audience with your wisdom. And I'm wishing you a wonderful day and good luck with your book and all the other things you have going for you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate this. It was a pleasure. I enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Great. Perfect. All right, everyone. That concludes our show for today. Thank you. Please take her words with you and let them help you to overcome your discomfort. All right. Take care. Peace and blessings. Okay. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Black Marriage and Family Therapy Matters podcast, where we connect Black families to Black therapists. Since you've listened all the way through, come on in and join the family. If you haven't done so yet, please join our free community where we offer weekly trainings and monthly giveaways. We can be found on Facebook under the Black Marriage and Families Matter Facebook group. And since you're serious about joining our family, we also invite you to join our All In campaign, which signifies your commitment to go all in, not only for yourself, but in helping us reach more people by downloading this podcast wherever you are listening to it, leaving us a review, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. This really helps us reach more people and change more lives. After all, Dr. Martin Luther King once said, we can all get more done together than we can apart. With that said, I want to encourage you to share this episode with just 3 other people who you think might also benefit from our community and what we are offering, with the hopes that all of you can join our All In campaign. When you're done, simply click the link All In Campaign in the bio and receive a free copy of my course entitled Goodbye Toxicity, which is valued at $297. This course will help you to work through some of the difficult experiences that arise in most of our relationships, and it's completely free to you with your commitment to join our All In campaign. We look forward to connecting with you every Monday and Wednesday. Thanks for listening.